Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's live stream. We are live here doing question time, answering your questions all about Unreal Engine, game dev or anything you want to ask at all. We are live, so all you have to do is put your question into chat and I'll try and grab as many questions as I can and answer them for you here tonight. We'll be going for about an hour or so, I reckon. Now if I do miss your question, don't fret, don't panic, just put it back into chat and I'll try and grab it. There's usually a lot going on, so I'll try and grab them as we go. So, hello everyone. Good to hear and see it. Well, here I see you. See your. I don't know. Hi. So, yeah, it's been a while. Last week we had to. I was out at an education mixer event hosted by Epic Games at Rare Studios, which was a really cool, interesting visit. But here we're all doing well, and if you haven't seen the news, we have just announced and released that we've got now a Spanish version of the channel. So en español will give us the opportunity to deliver the same content that you get on this channel, but all dubbed in Spanish for our Spanish audience. So those who know people in Spanish who want to share it, share it around and subscribe to it. It'll be exactly the same content that's on here. Obviously, there's about 1,500 videos to go through, so give us a moment. But yeah, it's a thought of something I've been wanting to do for a long time. As it felt like that non-English speaking tutorial guides are hard to come by, so I wanted to do something. And I chose Spanish because it's obviously a popular language, but also my wife is fluent in Spanish, so she could double check, make sure the dubbing is done quite well. So yeah, we're ready to go and jump in. So if you don't know how it works, just put your question into chat and try and grab as many as we can. There we go. Cool. Okay. Iron Thumb's first question of the evening. He left the question in question time, which basically, I looked at it, was if you got a target health bar above something's head in screen space, how do you make it so it stays on the screen? So, interesting problem. I've never actually had to solve this one myself, so let's take a look at trying to do that. So, let's first of all give ourselves a dummy sort of thing to work on. In fact, let me just bring in the third person content. Okay. Okay. And we're just going to make a character here. Dummy, for lack of a better word. And let's give them something that we can actually see them. Okay. So, the way he described it was a health bar. So, every frame. And we'll have just a progress bar. Keep it simple. And we'll just chuck that up there. I'm not going to hook it up or anything. We'll just leave it like that. And then we add a widget component. And we want to set that to our widget. And set the sizing of this. So draw size, we'll take this down from 500 down maybe to 100. Maybe like 80. And then height-wise, we'll do 10. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, and what we're going to do is position it above the head of the character. So I believe you said it was screen space, right? So we're going to change this from world to screen space. And so if we go into the game, drag that in there. Yeah, so you've got this problem where because it's screen space, you're going off the screen and the size is changing and all that stuff. So here's the problem with screen space: it's being drawn to the screen, space on the screen. Therefore, its size isn't going to change, otherwise make it world space. But also, its location isn't going to change too much because obviously it's like fixed in sort of size. So what we can do is we can probably try and lower it dynamically based upon how far away it is on the screen, possibly. That'd be my first tactic if you wanted to try and do something like that. and then possibly like maybe clamp it to the screen. Don't know exactly how we're going to manage this. We'll figure it out. So I think the first thing is to manage the location of the widget and the distance it is from the target. So on the event graph here, we're just going to, I'm putting a tick for now, but you probably put this on a timer, a looping timer. Actually, I'll just do a looping timer. So set timer, our function name, adjust widget, we'll call it. And we'll say every 0.1 seconds on a loop. And we'll make a function for this. There we go. So you also need to change the location, the height of the widget, which is 120. I want to change the gap based upon the distance the camera is to it. So let's get the player camera manager as a way of getting that. I say no, never done this before, so we're figuring it out live. And I want to get distance between that actor and ourselves. And with that, I then want to probably normalize it to a range, maybe. Probably have to play out the figures, but I think we need to adjust the normalized range. So if I take this out here and do normalize to range, range min will do as 100. Range max will do as 500, and we'll clamp this value. The reason you have to clamp it is because even though you're normalizing it to a range, if it's say 50 in that, it'll go into negative numbers. If it's like 1,000, it'll be like 2. So it's still normalized, but it will multiply. So we're going to clamp the float so it doesn't do that. And then using that to maybe lerp the value as the alpha. And the widget will do set relative location. And we're going to split that because we're only affecting the Z. We'll put that in there. And so the maximum it's going to be is 120. So that would be like when it's 0. No, when it's close, sorry, B would be 120 because that's what it is currently. And then A would be 80. Maybe? I don't know. Where is it there? So bring it down to like there, maybe. 90. Yeah, let's do 80. Like that. Okay, so let's see how that looks. So there's our widget. You see it's moving down. And if we wanted to smooth that out, we could do that with a tick event to lerp it with finterp too. Possibly. There may be other ways to do it. But yeah, if you wanted to finterp it, you just, rather than setting the value here, you have this promoted to a variable. Widget height, we'll call it. And then this bit happens on the tick with an finterp. finterp 2. And for that, for the current, we get the widget's current location. Relative location. Get relative location. Split that. We just want the Z. Target be widget height. Delta time. Speed of 3. And that'll give us a smoother appearance. Yeah. Or yeah, change time to 0.01 if you want. Either way, don't really matter. Yeah. The main thing is that when you are doing something like that, why you want a timer for this sort of thing is because we're doing not an expensive thing, but relatively, it could be annoyingly, for the lack of it, this get distance 2. And there probably could be other conditions you can put in as well, like check whether it's recently rendered, blah, 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 blah. But I'd put that in a separate thing that isn't tied to the tick. So it's a timer-based thing. And then the tick is there to smooth it out per rendering of each frame. This is super cheap because it's just setting a value. It doesn't do anything really. So no calculations needed. Okay. Cool. Any reason to use screen space instead of world space? Yeah, so pardon me. Checking, how was it? So it's just personal preference, really. So one benefit you have with a screen space widget is that the bar is going to always face the camera, like that, regardless of which way you go, and it also stays the same size. If you change the world space, it becomes like it's actually part of the world, so you can like see the back of it and things like that. Yeah. So it's stylistic choice, really. No real pro and con for each. It's just whatever you fancy, really. Stars. How should I get started with Unreal Engine? The best way to start with Unreal Engine is to don't go into it thinking you're gonna make a game straight away. Go into it thinking you just want to learn. You just want to try things out and learn things and try like go aha and all that stuff. So the first thing you want to do is pick up a tutorial or course or something, ideally from my channel, but if not, that's fine. And work way through it just to familiarize yourself with the engine, in particular with the various nuances to it. So what is a player controller, what is a game mode, how they tie together the levels, the game instance, all these various little terms and phrases that you get specific to Unreal Engine. You want to be familiar with those heavily, and just to learn the concepts of basic like blueprinting and things like that. In terms of the actual type of game you should be making, one thing I tend to get people to do first is making a maze game. A very simple game where you've got to navigate from point A to point B, solve a maze on the way there. That's literally all you've got to do. The reason why I like doing a maze game as a series of videos, and I've done one for UE4, I need to update it for UE5, but the reason why I like doing it is because it's expandable. So if you wanted to put in traps, you can put in traps. If you want to put in doors, you can put in doors. If you put in enemies, you can put in enemies. Like all of it is just expandable. You can keep like layering it on. So as you learn new concepts and try new things out, you can put it on there. So let's say, for example, you made a maze. We go from point A to point B, but now you've been learning about AI. So maybe you want to put in some little AI enemies to go around the maze as well. So off you go. You can do that and add that as a layer into your maze game. And then you start going, okay, well, I want to have mess about with level design a bit more. And like, okay, well, maybe in this maze we're going to have multiple tiers of levels. Maybe you're going to have some bigger rooms. Yeah, and suddenly you start growing out, and you've got like an actual a more familiar looking type of game. But that's where you should really start, is building an understanding of the fundamentals and what they do. And when you're going into learning Unreal Engine, when you are following these courses, try to understand why things are being done the way they are. So I try to explain as best I can all the various things I'm doing and why I'm doing them. If you don't understand something, stop and try to understand it before moving on. So, like, for example, if I'm trying out something new and I'm making a new node and it works, and I don't know why it works, I don't do anything until I've figured out why it works. Or doesn't work, whatever. I need to understand what the programming is actually doing behind the scenes. And I can do that via just, like, experimenting with it, changing figures, all that stuff. But, yeah, that's where you should start. Next question. I'm going to scroll back up to the top here because I missed a load. Lottie, how would you change a value in a struct at runtime so when the struct is called from then on it returns a new value? Okay, so let's make a struct first of all. Okay, f my struct. If you don't know, f is the typical prefix for structures, if you didn't know. Anyway, let's do my value. Okay, and we'll make that a float. So I want this to be on the player character, and I'm going to make it change the value. So let's put the variable in here, struct example, f my struct, and we'll set a default value of that to like 10, for example. And I'm just going to tie it to the 1 key for now, but you can obviously do it whatever event you're doing it on. So the struct, if you want to change a value inside a struct, you have to read the value from the struct, change it, and then set it back. Or you can do the set members in my struct node, which is very useful, especially if you've got lots of different things inside your struct. Let's say you've got 100 things in your struct. You don't want to be dragging them one by one. So what you do is you drag this out and make a set members in struct. And on that, then we can go and set what we want to make editable. So like my value here as a pin. There we go. So I just need to get the current value, and I'm going to increase it. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll just randomize it. Random float. Like that. And then I'll make another key. And we'll get it to print it. So this one will be the 2 key. And we'll just take that. Break that open. And we'll print string the value there. I'll explain something else about this that you should know about in a moment, but let me just put this on here first. Okay, so if I push 1 and then 2, we get 0.63741. Push 2 again, 0.63741. Now I'm going to push 1, that's going to randomize it again. Now push 2, 0.871822, 0.78, and so on, yeah? So I'm hitting 1 to change it and hitting 2 to report it. And you can see it's changing. Now, how's it changing? So one thing that's really important to understand, and you may not, some of you may not know this, what the difference is between a circle pin and a diamond pin. So this is diamond, this is circle. Okay? So what the difference is that this is a copy of the value. Whereas this diamond is a direct reference to that exact value. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're saying take the direct reference of the struct and change the value directly in that struct. Don't change a copy of it and set it back to the original. That's what you may have done. So you may have done something like this before, where you took this out, broke this open, and then or I tell you what, make my struct. You would have done something like this and then set that to that, for example, right? That is using a copy. So here we're making a copy of it and I send it to that struct. The reference, the diamond, is affecting the exact struct we're plugging into it. This is exactly the difference when you see an array and you get a copy versus get a reference. I don't think it's going to let me. Yeah, there you go. Okay. As you can see, the output for this is circle. The output for this is diamond. So the diamond means this is when we get plug in the array, we're getting at the actual exact thing that was in that array. Whereas this is just a copy of it. So if I change the copy, it doesn't affect the original unless I set it back. Whereas this one, if I change it, it does affect the original. Okay. So that is what those two differences mean. So if you want to change a struct live, that's basically how you do it. Just set members in struct. Yeah, really useful. And there also is a bit of a bonus extra difference between the diamond shaped pins and the circle shaped pins. I've tried to set members, but when I call the struct from another blueprint, it doesn't change. Yeah, It should do. It may depend, like, on where you're... Because, again, the set members is a reference to the exact thing. So it might depend heavily on where you're plugging... What you're plugging into it. If you want to, you can... If you've got a copy of something coming through as an event, you can store this out still like this if you want to. It's just in this example, it's no point because this is the thing. These two are the same thing, so no point. But if you've got this coming through as like part of a function or part of an event, like coming over from over here, then you could do something like that. If you're storing it on the actual object, I don't know. But yeah, it depends heavily on where you're getting your data from, probably. So double check that out. But that's how it, works. That's what it does. Right, let me scroll back up, sorry. Let me find something else. Hi Ryan, I have a question about MetaHuman character. Putting blueprint MetaHuman into an empty blueprint actor causes a hair glitch when changing groom to cars. Do you have a solution for this in 5.5? Not straight away, no, and I can't test it right now because I can't. It'll take too long to bring a MetaHuman in. So I can't say I have seen this. What do you mean by glitch? Good to know what you mean by that. James Macklemore. I was wondering how you recommend storing large amounts of text, like codex entries. Is there a way to make Unreal reference a text file, or do you have to just hard code really long string variables? Storing large amounts of text, like codex entries. I mean, do you mean like editable text that you can change it and store it? Then yeah, it would be just strings, really. You can reference external files. I don't think you can write to them in here. But if it's a read-only variable, so it's only read-only text that you're not actually changing or manipulating any kind of way, it doesn't matter. You just store it in the editor as however you want. But if you want to store it external, I mean, yeah, I guess you could do it, but it will be just a string. It's got to read the text file anyway to get, and it's going to have to read a string from that. Same if it was a JSON file, it still need to read it as a string. So there may be just those limitations in there, but I don't know why you'd want to store it outside the game, personally. So I'd probably rethink that if I were you, if you were doing that sort of thing. But yeah. Next question. Let me find one that's not related to something we've just done. This is from Citlali HG. I'm following a tutorial to make a quest system. My game is third person. I'm struggling with the difference between first person. There is a cheat for this or some sort of this. Not too sure. And another queue. The newest version of Unreal 5, the 0.5, the changes to specifically in control mappings. Any suggestions from changing from 5.1 to 5.5? So first of all, changes from first to third person. The main difference is literally just where you're line tracing from. So in the first person, you're line tracing from the camera because your camera is the head. But in third person, it's a little bit different. So if I go to the third person one, I'll show you what you do there. Yep. And because that is really the only difference, really, is that. So let's put a tick. It'll be a line trace still, but you're just changing where the start and end locations are, and that depends entirely on like the kind of setup you want for interacting with things. So, for example, the start position could be the active location, But the end point is based upon the camera's rotation. So we can do get player camera manager, get the forward vector of it, and multiply that by a length. So do like, I don't know, do 1,000 for now. Ooh. And then add that onto the actor's original location. There you go. If I trace debug for 1 frame there, you'll see what it's going to... No, let me make my character offset. It's going to block the view otherwise. Let's just go to here. I like that. Okay, so here we got the line traces now coming from the character out based upon the direction the camera's facing. Now, if you want to go based upon where the center of the camera is, because obviously you can see here, like I may aim the camera to the center of the screen, but the center of the screen is different from where the line trace is going. So what you need to do is do 2 line traces, one from the camera point of view, and then 2 wherever that point of view ends up. So we go back to there. So the first one is going to be a point of view from the camera. So line trace from the camera manager's actor location out. Then we get the hit. And then you do another line trace. This time, the start location is from the player character. So do actor location. And the end point will be the location of this hit here. What you can also do with the location, if it was a blocking hit, you can make it select which one you want. So if it's a blocking hit, pick A. Otherwise, just pick the trace end and put that into there. So now I've got draw debug for 1 frame there. I'll change the color of it so you can see it a bit clearer. We'll make it purple. Okay, so a bit hard to see the red one because it's coming from directly from the camera point of view. But you can slightly see it if I move the camera around. But you can see where the line now is always pointing to the center of the screen, regardless of the angle I'm looking at. And this is the same thing you do for shooting in third person too. So your aiming is always going to be in the center of the screen, regardless of the perspective that you're facing. Okay. And then what I'd recommend for your player is to have like a little reticule in the center, a little dot in the center, make it easier for them to aim where the center of the screen is. Next question. TJ, is there a way to have a save game list similar to Half-Life 1? So basically just a long list of save games. Yes. So I've got in the works a brand new save game series, which will be quite comprehensive and give you like a good way of maybe organizing your games and their save files. But essentially you have a general save list and the actual save file. So the general just load up at the launch of the game, and it just stores every single save file's name in a list. So then it knows where to fetch them from. So let's say, for example, we have in here, let's just do it here. So save game, do that. And this will be general save data. And we'll do another one. Game save data. Okay, so the general one gets loaded up at the start of the game. As soon as you boot it up, the game save data is your current instance of the game. What are you storing and saving? Like where the player is, what items they've dropped, picked up, shot, ammo, whatever. So the general, the main thing this is doing is storing a long list of different save files. Now part of that is you may want to store other information such as like the time and date of each save, maybe the location, some other stats you may want to store. In that case, use a struct. So we're going to have a blueprint structure, save file struct. And in here, we'll have this first thing here, it's a save file name, or save slot name, I guess would be a better way of saying it. That's a string. Add variable, and then you've got information you want to store. So you may have like date saved, for example, and that would be just like now. Yeah. So, or you can use date time if you want to do date time thing. Yeah. You may have like the location of the of where the player saved. So location, for example, which would be a level name. Yeah. String. Whatever it may be. So you have that, and then your general save data. In your variables, you'd have save files, and this would be an array of those structs there. So f save file, and make that an array. And then your general save data can be used then to sort of manage it a little bit as well. So we can have a function here is that save new file, and I could take the save files here for each, not for each, sorry. Here we can do, sorry, get ahead of myself. Create save file, get save game object, play game save data, and we're going to do save game to slot. And you may want to give it a name, a number, I don't know, whatever you want. So for example, a slot name, I could just take this save files here and get the last, or not the last, I get the length, and put that as a slot name. So the first file will be named 0, and the second one will be named 1, and so on. It's a save new file, does that. Away it goes. I fill out information, blah blah blah. And then when I want to load up the load screen, I would go through each one of these and show them on the screen as like widgets, maybe. Say we've got plans for a series of videos coming out to go into this a lot more detailed. But that's generally the thinking behind it. So your general save file file can manage the different things going on. So if you want to overwrite a save file, delete a save file, whatever it may be. Yeah, essentially what's going on there. But I say more detail in that series, I'm sure. Next up. Any ETA on those videos? Probably after GDC now, but it's in the works. There's another series. So at the moment, I think the first episode came out now of the quiz game series. So all the episodes of that are up now on Patreon. If not, the last one will be up tomorrow. I don't know. One game series I'd like to try and put together at some point is the pinball. I'd like to do a pinball game. I think that'd be quite a good one to do with physics and things, but we'll see how far I'll get. Next question. Leroy Johnson, can you regards to catching? Oh yeah, I haven't been on. I need to go on Discord. I haven't looked on Discord. I have to be on there. Next, interesting one, Callum. I made a minimize widget for my header in my widget UI. How do I get to minimize the border from button header widget? This is where the border is. Huh? So, oh yeah, I made a minimize widget for my header in the widget UI. How to get it to minimize the border? Do you mean like you minimize? Hang on. Let me throw something quick together. Trying to understand exactly what you're doing. So, I think I know. We want a vertical box. Some toolbox. So you want to do something like when I click this button, it's going to get rid of this bit in the middle, but still show the text block. Hang on. Get parent, get out of object, cast user widget. So close button there. I'm not entirely certain what you mean. Sorry, I know it's hard to do with text. Okay, so you've got them in separate. Okay, I know what you mean. Right. So, okay. So, for example, I mean, it doesn't. Okay. Hang on. I'll try and make it exactly as you got it. Hang on. Ultimately, doesn't do much different. It's the same concept, but we'll do it anyway. I'll just change it to be like blue or something, so you know it's different. And then on clicked here, we'll have event dispatchers on clicked. I think I know what you're trying to achieve, and I think you're doing it slightly the wrong way around. So your minimize button is just a button. It doesn't matter. Like the actual act of it minimizing doesn't matter where it's happening. So you're not going to call minimizing functions on here, like getting parent, getting parent, getting parent. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do, if you want to do something like this, where you're minimizing the content of this, is let's say I make this border here. Let me make it a rounded box. Oop. Okay, so I think the problem I'm guessing the problem is that you're trying to make it do the minimize bit inside the minimize button. That's not what you want to do, because the button is just a button. It doesn't know what the button's going to be doing. The functionality of the button should belong to whatever its parent is. In this case, the widget window. So what I would do on this widget window, the toolbar and all that, this belongs all in one thing. And then in the content here will be a named slot. You just put that in their border like that. And we'll put in like window content like that. And then when you click on the button, we'll make the button minimize that content by collapsing it. So this border we'll make variable, and we'll take that out, and we'll say set visibility, and it's going to toggle between the two. So we're just going to take this out and do is visible select. So we're clicking it and it is visible. True, we'll make it collapsed. If not, we'll make it not testable self only. So what happened now, let me just make it so I can actually edit it as well. Hang on. Get player controller. Set view. Oh, actually. Let me do it on the other one. So if I go back to a parent widget, whatever, and make this a canvas panel, for example, and I want to put in my window, yeah, inside that window I've got the window content. That's just a panel that I can insert whatever I want to be inside here. But let's say put it there, and on the graph here we'll do get player controller, set input mode UI only, and set show mouse cursor. So when I need to put it on the actual player character would help. Just do it on here. I don't think I named it, did I? No. Add to viewport. Okay. Yeah, so if I want to minimize this window, I can click on that and it'll minimize it down like that. Yeah. So that'll minimize down and play presto. And if you want to toggle it back on, you toggle it back on. Obviously, if you want to animate that, you can animate that too if you want. But that's the general concept behind it. Is the the minimizing aspect of it should be on the window itself, not on the thing. So if you're making like an operating system, for example, you wouldn't put the code behind every single button inside the button. The button's all generic button, and then the actual functionality is where that button belongs. Okay, it's the same we do with all software development. Otherwise, you'll be making 10,000 different types of buttons, which is a pain, because then if you change the style of your button, I mean, you've got to change it 10,000 times. So, yeah. Trementino, in case you skipped the question, is there a way to make UE4 physics work properly in UE5? Chances are no, because they're using different things. So UE4 uses PhysX, I believe it was, whereas Unreal 5 uses Chaos, which is Unreal's proprietary physics engine. Let's scroll around. Will we eventually talk about the AI state tree? Yes, it's on the plan to do so soon. Again, probably after GDC now. Anthony Gaming 234. How do you make animals AI or just AI for your game? So, the first thing I do is I assess what do I actually need the AI to do. Because a lot of the time I actually don't need to do much at all, and therefore I can get away with really cheating it a lot. So, for example, in the newest game I'm working on called the Chicken, it has chickens in it, and they walk along the platforms freely, but they're very simple, dumb chickens. All they're doing is walking to hit a wall, turning around, and then keep going the other way. So they're not using any AI whatsoever. They're just using, just say, move this thing this direction, then move that thing that direction. That's literally all they're doing. Because they're not having to do any sort of behavioral testing or decision making type things or pathing. They're not doing anything like that. They're just literally walking left or walking right. And the reason why I didn't do a complex AI thing is because it doesn't need a complex AI thing. No point in making something more complex than it needs to be. So first things first, when you make it any AI for a game, animal or otherwise, always assess your needs for it, because you may realize you actually don't need that much. Especially when it comes to animals, because animals tend to be a bit simpler in that sense. But obviously depends on the game. Scroll down. Golden Pixie, how do I switch between shots in one sequence player in a cinematic? Yep. So there's our sequence. Boom. So we'll have a camera. I'll just turn off the thing 'cause I don't like the I can't read. Where was the aspect ratio? A minute. I'm going blind. Hang on. Huge at the top. Oh, I've got the wrong thing selected. That's why. Camera. There we go. There we go. Bloody thing. Anyway, so let's say you got the camera here. So you need 2 cameras. There's a second camera. This one I'll keep as this aspect ratio, so you can see the difference probably a bit easier. But we'll move that one over here. Okay. And I'm going to not pilot it anymore. So what I need to do now is make it go into these shots, right? So the shot track is this one here, camera cuts. So I'll delete what's in there currently. Oh, buddy. Okay, so now you can see I've got existing bindings. I've got camera actor 1 and 2. So 1, and then I go along and I'm going to bind 2. Then go to camera 1, and then camera 2, like that. And if I go to view that at start, you can see it's going to flip between the 2 different camera positions. Simple as that. So you just have as many different cameras that you need. Chances are you're going to be using 2 or 3. I very doubt you're going to do any more than that. Is that you and your wife on the mirror poster? No, not at all. You know what I look like? I don't look nothing like the guy on the poster. Anyway, oh, funny. Freyanix digital artists have a player saving their data to a PDA, which gets to the save game object that extracts the data and saves it as a struct. If I have the exact same data asset on the save game object, will that save the data asset without needing the struct? I'm not entirely certain of what you're talking about. But the data asset is read only. You can't change the data asset. So if that's what you're trying to achieve, you won't work. Structs you can change. Data assets you can't. Outer, how do we find what causes the fatal errors on the packed game? So you've got 2 things you can do. First of all, read the error. You'd be surprised how many people I've actually had to help because they have got an error, and I ask them, what does the error say? They say, I don't know. So read the error. It usually tells you whereabouts the issue is. Yeah, and then you can start debugging and fixing it. If you do get a complete crash and like you get the old crash window come up, in a thing like that, you can do is get logs from the game. So if you launch the game with the command line log, I believe it is, and it will store its log files and it will store everything in there. You can also do things with insight data. So this stuff you'll Google and find in documentation. Unreal Insights is a really useful tool, as it'll tell you every single frame how memory's been allocated per frame, and you can then decipher like where the issues are a lot easier. But if you're getting a fatal error, chances are it's telling you an error message and it's telling you what it's saying. So read it first, and start there. Oh, you want to quit? Oh, I see. You want to skip a shot or go to one previous one, depending on how the player inputs like a QTE. I just need to know how to choose the right shot. Oh, right. Okay. So you can line up. You've got a couple of things you can do. So you can do a master level sequence and then load up the different sequences based upon which ones you want to do. So this would be like they chose the answer A, for example, whatever. And then the master level sequence here, no, I don't do it anymore, do they? Sorry, it's all into one. So you can add a subsequence to another sequence if you want. So, for example, if you do, I can't remember how you do this now. I did a video on it. I can't remember it. Subsequence track. There you go. So on subsequences here, we can add another sequence to it. So this will be a master one. So let's say, let me take this out actually, and make a new one. Yeah, we'll call it master. And in here we have the subsequence track. There we are. And we'll have the new level sequence there. So off it goes, doing its thing. Okay, so that's in there. Then you have another one that you may want to have, and then jump between the two. Can I add another one in here? Yeah, there you go. So let's say we do like 2 tracks like this, and I want to skip between the 2 of them. You can control where the playhead starts and stops if you want. So you can add in here a mark. And this will be mark A. And you can add another mark, mark B. And when the player clicks a button or whatever, you can tell it to play this sequence here at position A or position B, C, whatever you want, and go to and fro as you wish. So, for example, the way that would look, let me just do it in the blueprint. So you need the reference to the level sequence. So we'll do play level sequence, choose the master, like that, blah, blah, blah. And let's say I hit a button, right? I'm going to take the sequence here, and you want to get, oh, sorry, you have to get the player from it. Get, what have I done here? There's level sequence player. Maybe it's this one. Hang on. Oh, no. Hang on. Add marked frame. Delete marked frame. Or, you know, you take it to play a particular sequence if you want. No. What is it? Play 2, was it? Play from the current position to the requested position. No, not that. So no, what is it called? Oh, seek. Is it called seek? No. Hang on. I mean, hell, just make them all individual level sequences, and when you click the button, they do something different. There is a way to jump to it. What the hell is it called? Jump? No. Go to end and stop. I don't want to go to end. Can't remember what it's called. Okay, so let me just turn this off and go to seek to. That's media player. That's not what we want. No. What is it called? Tell you what, if I just type in level sequence, it'll give you all the variables and functions you have for that. Maybe I change sequence, not level sequence, sequence player instead. There we go. Bindings. Ah, scrub. No, not scrub. It might be set playback position. Yeah, set playback position. And you put in a marked frame, so A. And yeah, off it goes. There we go. So you can do it with that. But you could, if you want, just create a level sequence to play a different level sequence each time you push a button, if you want. But otherwise, yeah, do it like this. You can jump between them. Like, only one or two more questions. Says nice. 10 different post-process volumes attached to my character with different color correction effects. I'm enabling and disabling them when I need. I could just change one variable in the post-process itself on the fly, but my post-process effects are very complex with many variables changing. Is there any drawback of having many disabled volumes, or maybe is there a more efficient way of making different complex effects? I mean, it's hard to know how to make it more efficient without knowing exactly what you're doing. But there shouldn't be much drawback from having low disabled post-process volumes on your character. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you really want to, you can... So on your player character, your camera has all the post-processing settings in there. Yeah. You can store those out as variable, as they're structs. So you can store them out as things in here too. So, for example... If I go to the search box here and do lens, you'll see in here you got like lens, I think it's lens settings. And if you look inside that, I don't know if that's the right one or not. Hang on. It's something like this. You can change, you can store them as variables and just swap out the variables. Somewhat, that is the right one. Let me check again. Lens. Camera lens, maybe it's that one. Ah, there you go. Yes, that one. See, if we go, oh no, it's not. Oh, I don't know. It's one of those things you can change. Camera post process. Oh no, hang on. It's just post process, I think. Yeah, just post process. That's it. Yeah. So you store this post process and you can set it directly onto the camera. And if you want, you can store like several out on its variables and just swap them in and out if you want. That's another thing you could do, but ultimately not a big deal. How can you make a menu for choosing players at JRPG battle? Can you answer it? It's too hard to write in English for me. For choosing player JRPG, I mean, I haven't touched the JRPG for a long time. But if you want to select which player you're going through, I mean, we haven't got time to go through and show it, unfortunately. but this goes for all problems you're trying to solve. So think about cause and effect, about what do you want to happen and when, and how is that achieved. So if you want to make it so you select a character, so that means at some point you need to give the player control over what's going on. So either pause the game, or show up another menu, or turn phase. There'll be a phase in the JRPG, for example, where it's changing to a different character, so you can put in new commands there. Well, that change, by if you follow my tutorial, is automatic. Well, that's clearly where you need to step in and do something else to make it so the player can choose. So break it down to, that's when it needs to happen. Okay, so at that point where it's changing which player it's going to be using, you want to stop the automatic part and bring up another menu or something that can store what player characters you have. Now you've got to think about what information you have at hand already. And this again applies to all problem solving. So you've solved where it's going to go. So now you need to know what information do you have available to you, and whether that's enough information. If it's enough information, great, you've got everything you need to crack on with trying to do this. For the JRPG thing, you probably have enough information because you already have a list of all the characters in the scene already in your party. So you just use a for each loop, go through each one of those, add them to the array of widgets, so you can click on them and add them through. If you don't have all the information you need, then you've got to think about how you get that information. So let's say, for example, you're doing something that requires you to know if something's got a particular buff or not. And if you don't know if it hasn't got a buff or not already, then you need to devise a way to do that. Well, in that case, then I need to make a function that's going to look at the actor in question, look at the buff system I've added onto it, and grab what buff it has, and confirm or deny it from that. So, and it leads on to other things then after that. But generally speaking, that's where I start. Is I'll look at where do I actually want this thing to actually happen, and how do I want it to happen. Is it going to be handled by the computer on its own, or do I want player intervention in that? If so, how does a player intervene on that? And that's the cause of the starting point of this. Then the effect comes later, which is just looking at what information you have currently at hand and using what you've got at hand as best you can. If you need to go source new information, then you have to devise, obviously, all that stuff from scratch to get that information across. But yeah. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have today for all the questions that are on this that have come up. So sorry we couldn't answer them all. I try to do as many as I can within the hour. But we'll be back again hopefully next Wednesday. Won't be back the week after because I'll be in GDC, but there'll be loads of special live streams happening from GDC, including our meetup at GDC. So if you're at GDC in San Francisco and want to do a meetup with me and everyone else, I'm hosting a meetup on the Monday. So feel free to sign up to that on Eventbrite. Come out, hang out. We're in the park bit, so feel free to hang with us. But I'll try and live stream it, or take at least some video or something. I don't know. I'll share something on the stream. But we'll be doing some things like we did last year. We'll do like sort of post-mortems for each day and give you a review roundup, like a diary entry basically of that day in GDC. But yeah, thank you very much everyone for tuning in. We got more content coming. So over as you saw today, the quiz series has started coming out public. The whole series of 12 episodes, I think it is now available on Patreon, and the project files will be up there very soon too, for the gold members. What else we got on there? Skill tree stuff's on there. That's more stuff that's coming. We've got loading screens, some level sequence stuff. Gosh, what else? Local multiplayer. I don't know if that was finished yet on the public one, but that's on there. That's all finished on Patreon. And there's more to come as well. Obviously, recording some more tomorrow morning for the channel there. Once again, thank you to everyone who subscribed and supporting the channel over on Patreon. Very much appreciated. It is because of you that we're able to do this. And keep an eye out for more information about new things that we're working on, including our games Mimic and the Chicken. I haven't shown anything of the Chicken off to anyone yet. Can I say it yet? I think I can say it now because I think we've signed everything up. Is there more cart stuff coming? Yes, there is more cart stuff coming. Yeah. Mimic, I believe I can say it. Mimic is coming. Well, tentatively is coming to Xbox and PlayStation. We got the AOK from Microsoft and Sony, so we're just waiting for the dev kits to come along, and then I can work on it and get it going on that. So cool stuff. So yeah, keep an eye out for more things going on like that. Anywho, and we'll be revealing more about the chicken in and around GDC. People going to GDC will get to see it firsthand because I bring it with me on my laptop. And then we're showcasing it just after that too. It's a fun little game. I like playing it, making it as well. It's good fun for the kids. But yeah. Anywho, I must go. It's good night for me, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everyone.